So that was quite a comprehensive presentation. You've got a really good idea of what was happening, not only in terms of what the trustees were doing, but what we as the project team were doing behind the scenes. So we were, recording the changes. So at the moment, I'm the person who's standing between you and your kai and your lunch. But this is the part that's really important. It's where you get to ask us questions, to give us your feedback and tell us what you think, basically. We're really interested in your feedback. Was this worthwhile? We're particularly interested in, did you see the same benefits as we saw, as we had up there? There were a whole lot of benefits that we recorded, but you might have a different view about them. There might be some that you don't think were there, or there might be some that we didn't put up, but you think were there. It's just good to get your perspective and to have that kōrero now. We also want to get an idea from you about where you sit about some of this information being made available to other similar Ahu Whenua trusts. That's really important because there's been a lot come out of this over the last couple of years. Some of it will be very useful for others, but that's your choice about what we make available. You can see from the use of Trust A and Trust B that we've tried to, at this stage, keep it a little bit of anonymity until you've said to us we're comfortable with making things available or not. Okay. Were there any questions? Did anybody have any questions they wanted to ask?
As an owner and an owner's representative, in the last 2 years, there was an issue where the key champion of this program, by virtue of his decision that he made on behalf of his family, and so now he's no longer a trustee. And now, as I say, particularly last year, that was a very key issue for me on how the trust, the rest of the trustees, would actually, one, pick up the program and then be able to fully extend all the learning that this program has imparted to years, to one, go through that transitional change, because it was a significant component. When you lose the key driver of this development program, you either pick up and get better, or you fall horribly to pieces. And just as a personal observation, the benefit of the process has actually lifted you up as a body, as individuals. That's what I've noticed. I'm from the outside looking in. So the inherent benefit of this development process is proved to be of benefit to the trust, not only the trustees, but also the ownership of our polka. See? So as an owner and an owner's representative, I applaud you for being able to take up that and do not allow, Mare's transition to affect this board.
Can I comment to that?
Yeah, sure.
We accepted that, and we do know that we have to do something about making sure the momentum and the findings and what we were required to do are kept and exceeded, move on. Recently, the trustees, I put my hand up to accept some of the responsibility of some of the work that Mare was doing, and that was agreed to by the trustees just recently. So I've stepped back into that breach to make sure that what we were required to do, we will do. Some of my other colleague trustees have accepted some of the other responsibilities. But we have to balance that because we've got 2 new trustees who have just come on. They yet to be formally appointed by the court. but not to exclude them. They're invited to participate, so that they're learning as they come through the system, all right, as they become part of the system. So yep, I've accepted it. My colleague trustees and the chair have agreed that I do it, and I'll do it. Right.
Can I also add to this, Kora? As per what Peter is suggesting here, I believe what we've heard today, there is a transitional period with Māori going to us picking up the workload. Be pretty good if you could just drop, pick up and keep running. There is as put into our form this morning, transitional period may take hopefully shorter time period, but I believe we have to be allowed that period to soak up what Māori was pushing hard at the time. So, you know, for one to be taken up, we've got to give them some slack too. And I think as a trust, we've come across picking up these areas that need a bit of time to be worked out. It cannot be taken on as such, but good work for pointing it out that we are being watched very carefully. I thank you for that. Thank you.
Moving to our new ones.
Oh, kia ora. I would like to commend you ladies on this report, to be quite honest. I was just saying to Becca here that I've been to many, many conferences and have come out with forms like this and power presentations, and I must admit this is one of the best that's blown me away. I could see it being a workable document, very transparent, and I do believe it's something that could be taken on when and ever we get voted onto this trust. I'm very mindful of the effort that the last 2 years the beneficiaries that have partaken in this very enterprising project, and also the trustees, have done a lot of work. And that's something we as the owners out there do not get to hear about. So, you know, I'd like to really compliment the trustees present for their hard work, and with you as the guiding advisors. And so I'm really pleased with this. I could run with this, and I could see where it could go and where it could lead. I could see the opportunities that are there for this trust to be picking up in all your ideas that they may not have been able to get together and get in their heads, and have now been upskilled. I'm just really applauding everyone that took part in this project, looking in from the outside, coming in brand new. And so for me to get that in just this 2-hour presentation, that I could see our lands are in good hands. And so to me, I would just like to compliment everybody who partaked in this project, because it's just amazing. And I could see it's a pity we didn't have an extra year, because at the end of the day, I think under your guidance it would have just shot right off. And I've seen these people work. They're talking about the Manuka honey, yeah, definitely, it's the in thing at the moment. But there are other projects that they're talking about as well. And for me to get those ideas from them, I wouldn't have thought about that. I wouldn't have even dreamed about half of the things these guys have got in their heads. And I think that's been just the light switch that's been turned on. I'm not looking at the negatives that have come into this trust. I'm looking at the positives, because there are many. You can get heaps of negatives anytime. But I could see the strength in this trust and how they work. And we've been looking in from out, because we're not trustees yet. So that's where I sit. I sit in this chair, just to relay back to the 2 beneficiaries here, that you've got every confidence in these people here who've stepped up to take over the role of where Māori left off. Because they've picked up the extra workload, and I've seen them work tirelessly in the last, since February, I think it was, when we got sort of put on this trust to have a look at. So we've been in training. That's one of the things that came through. Train, I love the word young ones, but, but it was good to see. maybe we should call it new ones.
Aye.
But thank you for all those, and that's all I've got to say, except I've got every commendation for this group to continue as trustees. Kia ora.
First of all, congratulations to Shana and Karen and the Ministry of Primary Industry for initiating this project that we, as infrastructure owners, were able to partake in. I feel grateful that we were able to participate, and I can go back to quite a few years at our AGMs that we've had, Peter, and some of those have been, to say the least, one of those AGMs I wanted to avoid at most times. There was always contention, there was always arguments, there was always lots of things that came up that didn't really, form around the kaupapa itself. But with this Mana Whenua Project and to see the result that had come through, I also take my hats off to the trustees that they've carried on regardless of Māori, and they've done that with passion for the benefit of us, the beneficial owners. And I hope that we take, I've taken note of everything in here over the last 2 years as well, and I hope we're able to leave this, before we leave this week, that we can adopt some of these recommendations. I don't quite know how the rest of the whānau feel about putting viable sea out there for others, but I actually think it's wonderful. And because we should be so proud of our trust, that I personally don't have any qualms about going forward and putting our name to it. I think we're really proud. We're one of the, I'm involved with a lot of other incorporated trusts and so forth also, but this one right here in our backyard, it's too miki, to say the least. So yes, I think it's been wonderful, and I congratulate yourselves and our trustees as well. Kia ora.
When Māori resigned, it was a big blow to me. I didn't really have the confidence to carry on, but then I look back on all the stuff that you guys did, all the tools and the stuff that you had taught us, gave me the confidence to step up to the next level and take on the jobs that Māori had left vacant, because I see that they were very important to further our trust. If we didn't take it on, well, we'd be like B trust that was on there. So I thought, well, we've been showed this stuff, and it's time to put it into action. And well, that's how I feel about it. It's like, we can't talk about it, we've got to get in there and do it. And that's where I felt that this project has come and given me the tools to be able to do that, and take it a lot further than anything I thought that I could do. But with the fellow trustees that we've got on here, we've got a good team that, we're a lot better with communicating to each other. We listen to each other a lot more now. And I think that's a benefit to us as a trust that we're getting on, and we've come through a lot of turbulent times. And well, it's like there's always a storm that's going to come along. So with us having all these, the knowledge and that, we should be able to get through it for the benefit of our people and our lands. That's what it's all about. I spend a lot of time away from my family to come and do this. I spend a lot of time up on our lands, trying to make sure that it's nice and tidy for when our people do go up there, and then they can see, gee, this is nice. And hopefully in the next while, we might be able to show a bit more that we've got planned, and hopefully, we're not going to satisfy everybody, but at least, we can, if we can satisfy the bulk of the owners, well, that's what it's all about. But thank you two for giving us this program to help us along and give us the strength and to be able to carry on. A lot of people have given up some of the stuff we've got to go through, but with all the stuff that you've showed us, well, it's there's other ways around it. Thank you for that.
Yeah, kia ora no tātou, I tēnei wā kia kōrua Shana and Carol. Just to acknowledge you, going through these last 3 years. It's been awesome. And we need to make it, put it into action now. And I believe we will do. Even though we go through hard times, but it's all up there. This is actually a template for any other trust, whether it be tier 3, to use as a template. So I've got no problems with, we're putting ourselves up there and saying, here we are, and to improve on all the areas there. Communication, all increased external, internal communication, pull up on our school base, knowledge capabilities, improved governance. We're all human. But at the end of the day, we're very passionate about what we do for the All Whakapisi Trust. Making more confident decisions on behalf of our people. But the one up there, makes us aware, more improved engagement with our owners. And with technology now, we can put it out there. I see our rangatai doing that now by using whatever media, technology these days. And picking up where we need to look at the succession, all these things. Who's coming through the ranks. And they are coming through. We said in our last elections, the calibre of the trustees who put their names forward. And with our 2 new trustees who've taken the time to attend to today's meeting. Yes, I'm looking forward to the next episode for our trust and our people. Hea te mea nui tēnei ao, he tangata. What is the most important thing in this world is our people. It's our people, it's our people. Without our people, we're nothing. And we're in the process of finalising a few things to step up as part of our strategic plans. And won't be long, we'll begin that, and we know we need to get another newsletter out to update. Hearing what you were saying, Karen and Sharon, make it an annual thing. Review how we're progressing, where we can improve. Yes, I'm very excited actually. True. And having here amongst us our administrator Rebecca, so kia ora Rebecca, through all our finances and that communication going out to internal and external parties, that's a key. You're a key to part of our overall moving forward. So that's all I have to say, and to Warwick and Martin coming along, having been through with Karen and Shona from the owner's point of view. Because I think we're all owners in here, but at the end of the day, we've got a governance role to do. Start separating the operationals, all that, but as you say, with the small numbers we have, we need to do that. But at the end of the day, focusing on our moa, all those. And there's going to be more challenges ahead of us, but maybe one request I'll ask you too is whether we as the All Faculty Trust are able to use this, and I'll be open and frank, we're going back to the courts, but I'll leave it there. But when I see what we've done over the last 2 or 3 years, hey, our people are going to see that, and through more communication, and get that buy-in from everyone to move forward together. So, kia ora tātou. Cheryl and Mana waiting in the wings here. So, and kia ora Mana, just hearing your comments. A lot of the work we do is you don't see out there, but we're very committed to putting our trust up there and say, here's an example for future trusts. So, kia ora. That's all I have to say.
As an owner, in my mind, just sitting here this morning, 2 things have just been. The first one is, why aren't more of our Mana Whenua trusts and our Māori incorporations, that have been in existence, legislatively, some of them for the last 90 years or so. And, the Turu Whenua, the underpinning driver is actually bring the whenuas that don't have governance or management over them, into this 21st century. So I've been sort of like picking things out of this thing here in my mind. The different. I'm a trustee of 2 other trusts, and I'm a Māori incorporation. They vary between. Some of this is happening, some of it isn't happening. But I'm very mindful that you only get better and better as you go forward, and that's just a state of mind. But I also understand for Paul C trusts and its major asset, which is the land and its people, of course, that needs to pick up. One thing I've seen out of this document here is development of the governance, where all the policy decision making, policy direction is, but then to gain the next economic level out of the strategic assets, that's its business model and its business assets, you're probably going to have the separation of governance and operations in terms of a commercial management model to go to that next level that this has been talking about. And it won't happen just because we want it to happen. got a lot of decisions and policy and all the rest of it that goes with that, you know, and then you've got to chuck in that ability to fund these ideas and these policies, you know, so I'm very mindful of that. One of our whanaungas, she's always active on social media, and she always talks about our lands, what are we going to do with them, our waterways, what are we going to do, you know, environmentally and developmentally, and because we're having a bit of a social media conversation here, and a few other people in Sweden and a couple others in the United States and in Africa, wherever else, because they're all interested, Mana Whenua honey. Why? Because it just happens to be grown there, you know. And, you know, dare I say it, I mean, it's a pretty obvious thing, and it's been stated by Karen and through this paper here, that next level up in the commercial business enterprise. Mana Whenua honey just lost its greatest advocate in the last year or so. I just can't remember his name off the top of my head, Karen. He's the researcher that actually found out why. Yeah, he passed away, And one thing the few times I've seen him at conferences and that, he did it because he was good at what he does, and he could see the potential in the environment around us. And he actively looked at it and said, geez, look at all these Maoris got all this land, look, it's all covered in mud. So, you know, it's
hidden treasure.
I mean, it's an obvious thing to do, isn't it? But it ain't going to happen just because we want it. You have to make it happen, eh? Kia ora.
Anybody else?
Are we going to talk about the recommendations?
What was your part of? I forgot it.
Were there any questions? Is there any feedback on the benefits that we had up there and in the presentation? Is there any feedback on the recommendations? So we'll put it through to that slide. Here we are. There were 3.
No, I just like to follow koro and say that I am Marama. I don't have a problem with All Wāko C being named as trustee. I don't have a problem with that. I think it's important, I think it's valuable. We're only very, very small. I could take the status of us as a people that own property. We're small. But we have taken a lead over many years on a number of things. And we don't go around skating and telling what how good we are. We just get on and do the job. And we've done that progressively over many years. And I just reflected, and I said to Shona before, I just reflected on some of the words that were on those things about being conservative and risk averse. And I just thought about the 3 old Kurawa trustees that used to be on here with us. They were not risk averse. Uncle Warren wasn't, absolutely not. Auntie Hira, oh gosh, she was a bloody pain. No, they were not risk averse. And then my cousin Lere, Puna, was not risk averse. And Uncle Bill, how you were? Now, those are average age of 70 or 80, the average age. But they weren't risk averse. If it stacked up, if the idea stacked up, they just give you the nudge. Because they were supporting it. It was bloody excellent. So it wasn't so much the old people are the ones that hold us back being conservative. In fact, it was us younger ones who were a bit frightened. But when those 3 or those old 4 made a comment, and you listened to them and they gave you the whakaaro behind it, and you went for it. Because they had the strategy. They were strategic thinkers. Māori. We were strategic thinkers, half by Māori, because we're in the Pākehā world, eh? Too frightened of the governance structures. But what straight up, tell you straight to your face, this is how I can work, Mrs. White. Uncle Bill will mutter, then he'll poke you with his walking stick and say, go and do it. Auntie Ira will do a big speech for about 5 hours. And then tell you. Lere, more quieter, a bit more restrained, but basically when he got there, he just got put. That's it. So, not the old ones, not necessarily the old people that were pulling us back, as as it seems to be said around the country, was actually ourselves. They were steeped in Māori. Those all people. We're steeped in half by Māori and half by Pākehā. So we get our balance gets a bit wrong. That sound a bit strange? No. So, the benefits from this project, I to myself personally, I was challenged, and I think I might have said that in a couple of our forum. I was really challenged, trying to level up to where I thought I was, as opposed to others. Was I better? And you got that, you personalise it, but in fact we're a team. So the team was the team. We had to lift each other and get along, make sure each other was benefiting, right? And not to think that you were the less or the greater. The recommendations up there, the 2011 report at MAF, now known as MPI, that report plus a couple of others provide the base way back in pre-2011 and 2011, the date of that report. This is a spin-off of that. I have never seen yet any consistency from government to develop those policies, their own policies. That's not mine. That was written by Pākehā government organisations. Never seen it taken beyond 1 or 2 years. So you now got MB running around doing their thing around Māori land. You got TPK now entering the fray with their Whenua Māori Fund at this end. You got MPI in the middle. But I don't think the three of them actually talk to one another. So if there's a governance issue, it's certainly not around this table. It's their governance relationship collaborative issue around those three key agencies. So TPK just launched their Whenua Māori Fund. So you've got to balance that out. So you've got MB, you've got MPI, and you've got TPK. One of the agencies has to take the lead. So in the middle of them is MPI. And I would say that I would agree with the recommendations made there, that someone has to make that in play. MPI should be asked to do that. Should be. And if they want support from this trust, well then this trust will support them, because we see the benefit of what they've done. Can't see any benefit of what MB's doing yet, and TPK just started, so you're not going to see anything until at least a year or 2 years out. So if they got the proof, us, then they should actually be leading. I agree with those recommendations. But don't need to be interviewed now, but you got me.
Anyone else want to add anything?
I just think it's a brilliant opportunity for All Whāko C Trust as such to be able to engage with other trusts, and I do believe that they've got the solid evidence now that shows them a pathway and clarity of where they could go from here to springboard. So to me, I would say they've got excellent evidence, and I think everybody who comes under the umbrella of this MPI will only get benefits, huge benefits, from being able to go through that avenue. So I total whatever's been said this morning, because at the end of the day, all whāko have done their homework, and I can see that they now can move forward in leaps and bounds 5-10 years down the track. And I can see our strategic plan going quite easily in this forum where we've got evidence already. So it's brilliant.
Just to recap, so we're getting a clear message or a clear view from you that your position is that we should allow information to be shared with others, information about your involvement in this project, and information that identifies you as the All Whāko C Trust and as the trustees. Is that right? Is that the common view around the table?
Can I just clarify that, Shona, because there's actually two things. One is the identification of the trust. The other is the identification of your potentially commercial initiatives. And we wouldn't want to identify anything that might be commercially sensitive. So you might be happy that the trust is identified, but to what extent do you want to identify the commercial initiatives you are involved in? Because that may well jeopardise partnership development.
I think it will, but given that the records of the trust become public records through the Marianne Court in any event, and we have to describe in our reports to the court and to the AGMs, we have to describe it. And that in turn goes in the copy form into the records of the court, which is a public record. So are we disguising it to that extent when it ultimately is going to be public information?
But you can limit it, like Karen's suggesting, to directly to this report.
Oh, in this sense, yeah,
Yeah.
agree.
As a participant of this report, that essentially, this is what the fundamental of this recommendation is actually about picking up this model and saying to this grant agent that if you pick up 1 and 2, we'll be able to deliver this program for those. Remember, Peter, a couple of years ago, Deputy Prime Minister as an invited speaker, Māori Farmer of the Year, and his kōrero law. And he just stated from, as a farmer himself, and he related that 95% of New Zealand primary production, which is in non-Māori hands, was fully developed, yet there was less than half of Māori-owned lands had actually reached any of their potentials,
True.
And at the same time, we know that was specifically talking about agriculture. But when you talk about Māori lands, the bulk of it isn't agriculture. It's whenua like Opaupo.
Yeah.
So, but the same premise still applies. Being able to somehow figure out how to extract the greater commercial abilities for Māori, as such.
Kia ora, Shona. First of all, thank you for this morning. I think this is about the most you've ever had me in one class, My other job is sort of begging me to go back, even though I would prefer to stay. But thank you both for this morning. Bora, it's good to see you again.
Kia ora.
I have to sleep, people. Thank you very much.
Kia ora.
Kia ora. Kia ora.
Kia ora, mate.
Don't be too hard on our folks.
I'll keep them happy.
Just to pick up on the point that Pete made about how there's different agencies all doing different things and there's no consistent interagency approach around the issue of Māori land and supporting ahu whenua trusts. I think that's really an important point to make. There are cracks, there are gaps between those agencies and what they might each provide, and the point that you made, Pete, is that they actually need to get around the table themselves and provide consistent and comprehensive support to trusts such as yourselves. So I think we should actually capture that kōrero a bit better in the recommendations that we have there. We have put something about MPI being the lead agency, but I think it just might need to be fleshed out a little bit to capture some of what you've said, because it's a very valid point.
Because we're expected to collaborate or coordinate or collectively work together as smart. And those three agencies, I'll pick on those three agencies are saying that, but they're not doing it themselves. So what's the point? And of course the other common argument now seems to be emerging is that you've got this treaty money. Well, we're not treaty settled people.
Exactly.
We are Mana Whenua, we hold our land by the right of our birth. Nothing to do with treaty. But there's that other side of it. You've got politicians saying that. But it's got nothing to do with treaty. Treaty is a treaty. We own our land. Our cousins of Waimarama own their land. We're not party to that. But yeah, please rephrase. Oh,
And just to throw something else in the mix there, check in the Ture Whenua process that it's going through. And once it comes out of Parliament, then all those expectations in this new bill are going to be dumped on trustees to somehow configure the new model with the existing model and make it all work, as well as aspirational of what the whānau expected. So, kia ora. Hey.
And when you look at that, the processes that they're trying to make is enabling trusts to work. This trust has gone through 2 years of program, And now they're dropping other things on top of them. Is there going to be something like that coming up to assist that program to be initiated? So, you know, it's all those things that we're looking forward and having to put into the strategic plan and thinking ahead of what these people are putting on top of the workload of these ones here now. So, you know, it's coming to comprehend what is required for this trust to be efficient is going to be needed to be implementing something similar again with MPI. I can see it's going to be necessary because we've got the guidelines here just for a few more years, but looking at all these other things that are coming in via Parliament and by politicians, how are they going to activate those into the trust? Like you're saying previously, lack of knowledge did not assist them in getting to where they needed to be faster. And I think that's a question that I want to pose back to you, to perhaps in your MPI records, is that there's that need for continual upskilling for this trust and any other future trustees coming in. And I do believe that there's not enough being done in that. Thank you for what you've done, but in the meantime, that's only short term. I can see it as a short term measure, but then you've got to look at the 5, 10 down the track, 20. So we're looking at long term longevity, and I think that's very important. I'm just coming into this, but I'm really excited now compared to what I was a few months ago. Yeah.
Anybody else?
So maybe you would like to revisit the recommendations, you know, just from the corridor that's coming through, you know,
We can certainly do that.
Yeah.
and we can formalise it at a trustee meeting, you know, to...
Sure, okay. Yeah, we can do that. So if we reword that, send it back to the trust to make sure you're absolutely happy with it
Right.
before it's submitted to Ministry of Primary Industries. When is your next meeting, Koro?
18th. Monday.
Monday.
Wow.
Next Monday, so
Monday 18th. Kia ora.
How regular is the trustees actually meet? Once a month? And it's just a regular agendaed business meeting of the trust?
Yeah, correct.
Do you actually designate particular meetings just to deal with issues like, for example, like the training program, as opposed to trying to do everything all in one meeting, you know, all hats that you have to deal with?
Yeah, we do have specials.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's a special tuck that has to be dealt with, we will have the special.
Yeah, I just sort of like picking out some of those points about, you know, better use of your time and your resources. Because, you know, I'm very aware that the people that really pay the price of your participation as a trustee is actually your family.
that's what I was saying about watching and observing, as an observer looking in. These guys work tirelessly, you know, because with all the extra jobs that are on top of what they're doing, before they get it to us at the meeting, they're doing stuff during the week. So it's a weekly job for these guys. They're actually ticking off the boxes and doing all this extra stuff to make sure when we do come to our meeting, it's efficient. It's really an efficient meeting. And it does go tick, 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 because they've got all the documentation and everything ready that assists us to make sure we understand and get clarity. So I think that's really, really effective.
And maybe I see that as number 3, the MPI can facilitate and the securement of external funding, where we can focus on, you know, big picture stuff.
Well, it may be that picking up on Peter's point that MPI is able to work with the other entities, government entities and private sector entities that might have a potential to fund this sort of work. But someone, as Peter said, has got to take the lead, someone's got to drive it, because if you leave it just for anyone to do it, it's not going to happen. So first thing it has to happen, because our report is back to MPI through the Sustainable Farming Fund, they have to accept that recommendation and then put whatever is envisaged in place, whether that's a project team to address the funding issue, and whether this is a program that merits their attention in terms of being rolled out to Tier 3 trusts.
Yeah.
Good summary.
Well, if that's all that we've got for our feedback and our questions, if there are no more, then we might just close our hui and have our lunch.